Welcome to the line again, Wally. Repeat guest here on our podcast, Lifting the View of the Skilled Trades. I'm like we were talking earlier. I don't know if you were just kind of blowing some wind up my skirt, or if you were serious that you were excited about this. But I truly was, and I asked you to step up to the line, and you invited me to a battlefield. So I don't really know what that means, but
I'm not blowing any wind. It's 30 degrees with gusts to 30 here. So I think that's just nature paying respects to you.
I actually didn't want to tell you this, but it's actually 28 degrees. It dropped.
Oh, good.
Good. So
that's great.
This is officially the coldest podcast I've ever done.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Excellent.
And some of us have batteries supplementing our body type, and others just have a lot of fat. So
we'll let the viewer decide.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure your jacket says that there's a battery-powered something there. So, yeah. But no, we're here at the battlefield because you're here for something special that you're doing with an organization, C.W. Matthews, out of Atlanta, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing here.
Well, we do approximately a year-long advanced leadership program, arguably MBA level. I collaborate with some other instructors, a Marine Colonel, a PhD from NC State, Garth Matthews and Lanny Haas, and we bring in experts because I'm not the expert, I'm an expert. And so the Advanced Leadership Program, these are folks who may not be running the company next week, but within the next 10 years, they're going to be in senior leadership. They already may be in board executive officer positions, et cetera. And, it's leadership. Leadership is leadership, but leadership at the front line is also a little different than leadership at the executive level. So this is the culmination of our advanced leadership program with C.W. Matthews. We try to do it in cool places to signify that they've been through something really special, but to also make it visceral, right? To feel what happened here. We've been to Normandy a bunch of times, which is really cool. We've walked across the Golden Gate Bridge. We've been on the USS Missouri.
Wow.
And the point there is constructors who invest in their teams and want a phenomenal experience so the people walk away changed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what it's about, is about not only that they walk away changed, but that companies are willing to invest to give them the tools that they need to change.
Well, this construction business, there's some tight margins out there, and it's easy to count pennies and lose dollars as opposed to maybe invest pennies or nickels and make dollars.
What would you say, what do you see in the companies? What is the thing that they see that is different, that they make the choice to make that investment? Like C.W. Matthews, they're not, this is my backyard. I live here, not on the battlefield, but I live here in Pennsylvania, but they're coming from Atlanta and bringing their people here and going through this process. And something I always am thinking about in business is if you're not working, well, then, we're not making that money.
Yeah.
What do you see in those companies? What's different?
I don't know if you call it the double bottom line. There's the bottom line, there's the P&L, and we can see that in black and white. But it's a deeper understanding of what we would call the intangibles, right? Define culture, but I know it when I see it. And these are folks that are just either because they were raised that way, or they experienced something in their life, but something has brought them to the place where they get that people and culture is a differentiator and therefore a profit strategy. Yeah. And let's face it, there's some incredible leadership stories on this dirt right here where we're sitting about personal courage, organizational belief, honor, just so many incredible stories here.
Absolutely. I think it's a little surreal when I take the time to think about it and slow my brain down and think that, however many years ago, there were men bleeding and dying for what they believed right here.
Right here.
Yeah.
And for their buddy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Just amazing. And this is one of the greatest gifts of our nation is these parks and the monuments and all that.
Agree.
People, like you said, they're going too fast
Yeah.
to experience this. But that's one of the lessons of leadership too.
Yeah.
Is you have to slow down to go fast.
Oh, come on, there it is. I mean, that's the reality of it. And you use the term gifts. It's like we're getting pretty close to Christmas. Here we are in December. I realize some people watching might have thought it was like August or July.
Yeah, I could see how that.
Yeah, but here we are, and it's like they are a gift. I think about even the in the process of getting to be here and getting to film on a park site, the people who do the work. You know, we were just talking with a young woman who was preparing us in getting here and permitting us to be here, and she was helping us in the midst of hardships for their organization to get it done because they believe in what's here. And I think that's the other gift with it. The people who are doing the work, you know, the Park Service, the men and women who do that work, very much like the skilled trades industry. I think that they're overlooked, and we don't realize someone is caring for this park.
Mm-hmm.
Someone is preparing it for us. Someone is making sure that there's something here for us to come and visit and be able to experience that. I think that ties in with what we should, if you are a leader in an organization, that's your job for the next round of leaders, is that you're preparing something for them, a process, a way to do it, the ability to slow down, that double bottom line as you're talking about.
Well, there's so much in what you just said, Josh. I mean, first of all, it's there's a vision, right? There's something out there that we believe in, a cause.
Yeah.
For CW Matthews, it's getting Georgia home.
Yeah.
Now, they've expanded that to the southeast a little bit, but and that says, hey, we've been successful, but like, give me something to believe in.
Yeah.
But then you bring it down to the micro level, not the micro level, the human level, not the organizational level of what's the craft, right? What's the craft of being a caretaker of a place like this? What's the craft of putting hot mix asphalt down? Yeah. Like, what's the craft of pulling cable or through conduit, whatever? I mean, it's artistry at its best.
I 100% agree. And that's something that we're going to talk about a little bit later in that tradecraft thing of what you're talking about there, and what we're trying to bring in a collaboration with you here in 2026, which I'm very honored to be a part of with you.
Well, I guess the guy who you wanted turned you down, and and you got me. But
full disclosure, you were my first ask.
Well, and you were my first yes. So there we have it.
Wow, it sounds like it's a romantic comedy.
It is. It clearly is.
Well, before we get much farther, I'm not sure if any of my off-camera people here can help me and give me that thing that I have over there. So I have been researching different things. Like I said, nope, the green thing. It's Christmas time, right? So thank you very much. So I have a gift for you. You can see my skill in wrapping. So I'm an electrician by trade, and I want to just tell you a little bit about this. And just so you can be clear, it's broken on the bottom here, so that's a great thing that can slice your hand open.
Good to know.
So yeah, just thought you should know that. But this is a Brookfield insulator.
Yeah.
It's probably older than you and me combined. And if you look in the center here, you can see that there's like a corkscrew thing. And these used to get threaded on wood-carved poles.
Yeah.
And you would wrap the wire around here, and this is the insulator. The reason that I want to give this to you as a gift is because I think that if I talk about just for a second here what the purpose of an insulator is, an insulator is meant to protect the pole that is supporting the power that is going through it.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I know and what I have learned about Firestarter and Wally Adamchik is that this is what you do. You are there, and when we research insulators and we talk about them and we look at them, and I know a little bit about them because I've worked with them over the years being an electrician, and I've done some very brief line work, not enough to be considered anything. But in the work that I did, these were essential, and these are part of history. You don't see ones like this anymore, so I'm going to try to reach over there and give that to you without you being cut.
Or cutting myself, yes.
But that's been sitting in my office for almost as long as I've been in business. Probably only about 15 years. So, so maybe the first 5 years of my business, it wasn't sitting there. But the reality is that's something that's old. It can still do its job. And it is effective in protecting the power and the energy to get where it needs to go and do what it needs to do. And I think that's something that you do. And so I just wanted to give you that as a gift, to thanking you for coming out here. And I appreciate that. And that's some of what we want to talk about today. You know, we've talked before about Firestarter and Wally and what he's doing, but if you're listening to this, I want you to hear some of the things that we talk about today, because it's not just about the companies, it's not just about the people, but it's about you deciding to become a leader and you deciding that you're going to do what it takes to help the next person or the next generation actually go beyond where you are. And, you know, I read a book about a year ago called From Strength to Strength. And it was written by this guy, and he talked about before 40 and after 40. And actually did some scientific research and whatnot to discover that, you know, like the musical artists and people who would paint and things like that, their major creative things and the big things that they did in their 20s, they weren't able to continue to do in their 40s and 50s. But what they were able to do, if they were intentional about it, was take that and go from strength to strength to be able to then take the next generation and become a mentor, a coach, a leader, a teacher. And I don't mean that like, you know, some people are like, if you can't do, you coach. In our industry, not true. Not true. You had to be able to do in order to earn the right to be able to talk. Anybody that knows what that is in the trades industry, I remember my dad, he served in Vietnam, and he told me this story once. And I repeat myself, so I might have told this, and you might have heard it before. But my dad told me this story once. They would have new lieutenants showing up. And my dad, he said it wasn't like the movies. He said they dropped him in the jungle, and that was it. For 2 years, that's where he was. They didn't come back every day. Yeah. And he said, but every now and then they would get a new lieutenant, and he would come out. They would immediately take his bars off, and he was not in charge. The sergeant who had lived the longest was the guy that was in charge. And that's how it is in the trades. Yeah. It's the men and women who can do the work. And not that, you know, if you have a bachelor's degree or something, you've gotten a new job, listen, you still can be there and be useful, but you need to honor the men and women who have been there before you. And that's what we require in the trades. And so that's some of what I think we're talking about here, and why it is so important to be intentional about leadership and why it matters so much. So,
well, you don't have to have all the answers, right? So we step in.
Thank God.
And I remember, I was a second lieutenant once too, not in Vietnam, but my platoon sergeant had been in Vietnam, and I was smart enough, and I don't know why, or dumb enough to get out of the way and let him, you know, lead the platoon. Yeah. Right. It was very clear, and we had a great relationship, and we respected each other, and we did really good things together. But again, maybe because my dad was enlisted in the trades, I don't know. But knowing that I didn't know, and knowing that that dude who had that experience was either I was going to be successful or not because of him.
Boy, there it is.
And my ego, not so big, or my I want to win, but I can't win by myself. Like you and I can't do this without this team. We like even if you're on a hot dog cart, you can't do it by yourself. So this concept of leadership and culture, and really get down to trust and respect. Right. And honor and humility. You know, words that don't normally get thrown around on job sites. But when you really get down to it, that's the secret sauce.
Absolutely.
And companies that invest in experiences, you know, this is over the top maybe, but I'm okay with comments like that. But you know, companies that invest in their people fundamentally say, I respect you and what you do. And when we give that to someone, they may give it back.
Well, I mean, that's what it's about. That is the only way I believe. You know, if we're building something, we better take the time to build a legacy, because what's the point otherwise? I mean, that's just what I believe. And so, and to take the time to build a legacy, that is about long vision thinking, you know, thinking beyond next week. Thinking beyond, this is a little risky. I don't know the answer to this, but how long has C.W. Matthews been around?
It started right after World War II.
Come on.
C.W. Came back from World War II. He was a CB, and he bought some nasty, secondhand military surplus dozer and started moving dirt.
That is awesome. If you don't know, I only know this because one of my best friends was a CB in Vietnam. And if you don't know, that is like the ultimate war machine, trade machine all together. They built the roads, they built the bases, they were sent out. And my buddy, who did that, often would tell stories about being in a dozer with a machine gun.
Yeah. Just
it was like, I don't think we can do that back here, but it might get frowned upon. I think they call that killdozer. Yeah, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, it's old. If you're old enough to know that. But CW came back, and it was that fundamental respect. And oh, by the way, he was on a troop ship that got sank.
Wow.
And I think 97 out of 100, some crazy number of his unit died. Wow. So what does that do to your perspective on why am I still here, right? So now you think about longevity and legacy and like, why did God save me?
Yeah.
Or why did the ethos save me?
Yeah.
And it probably wasn't to move dirt.
Yeah.
Right now, that's the means to the end.
Yeah.
Right. We all have our means, but and that culture resides within the people of CW today. Bob Matthews went to Vietnam and right and that they're just great Americans. But clearly, so many great contractors are.
And I mean, what a great place to have been blessed to be born, to live our lives, and not just to be born here, but I love it when I see people coming here. One company that I work with, I don't know why it's this way with electricians, but it's like there are so many Europeans, like from either the Czech Republic or from Russia, who have immigrated here that are now investing in building in America, and it's like that's what we want. If you're willing to do the work and you want to be here, and I'm not trying to get political, I just know this from seeing this on the job sites, and it's like I do believe we live in the greatest country in the world, and I guess I got pretty political there, but that shouldn't be political. The reality is we're here because generations thought we want to leave a better land for those who come after us, just like CW did. And this was my point in asking how long they've been around. They've had a long-term vision.
Yeah.
They've had long-term thinking. And when we have that changes things and affects things for our success. And to what you said earlier, the double bottom line. It's like, yeah, you have the numbers, and then you have the numbers beyond the numbers. And those are the things that change where you're going to be in 100 years versus where you're going to be next quarter.
Well, it gets to one of the most debated statements out there of
because you'll be distracting while I pour myself more coffee.
Not a
because
problem.
It's cold enough that I don't feel bad.
You'll hear people say we're like a family here, and what they're saying is we care about each other, we look out for each other, and then you get the other people saying, well, work isn't family, you can't fire your brother-in-law.
Oh, if I could, I would have.
Well, yeah, but let's not debate the semantics here, right? Okay,
Greg.
No, I'm not family, but man, we look out for each other, right? And we love and we actually spend more time together than we do with our families, right? Because of the hours we work. So that's culture, right? I mean, I've known a lot of families I wouldn't want to be part of, and a lot of companies I would want to be part of, and vice versa. So, let's get past the semantics and say it's just people I want to spend time with and do great things with, almost irrespective of what those things are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think you touch on something. I was just talking with my sons the other day, and we were talking about great movies that we need to watch together. And my oldest is like, well, what about Black Hawk Down? And as soon as he shared that movie with me, I remembered the scene, and I can remember it right now. And in the end of the movie, the guy goes, why do you do this? Because it was so horrible. All these people died. It was like unwell thought out, and some of the things that happened.
Yeah.
And he's like, why do you do this? And he said, the guy next to me.
Yeah.
That's why we do this.
Well, and that's why they did it here.
Come on.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I was actually in Somalia before Black Hawk Down and after Black Hawk Down. Call me very fortunate.
Yeah.
And the movie's pretty damn accurate.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. But
the old one, not the Netflix version. Yeah.
oh, there was a Netflix version? No, the movie. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that's, you say, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, it took me a long time to figure it out, but that is the point.
Yeah, come on.
It's not about me. It's about us.
Yeah.
Right? And look at our relationship, right? It's just like two dudes like, yeah, let's get together, let's laugh, let's do something that is worthwhile.
Yeah.
And you get guys out on a paving crew at midnight and they feel the exact same way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean that's what it's about. And when you're going through those hard things that's the other thing. There will always be hard things. And the only way that I know to go through hard things to not be utterly miserable in life is to not go alone. And so it's like when I'm, I wouldn't want to sit out here and talk to myself in the freezing ass cold. But sitting here and having a real and honest conversation with someone who is investing in the next generation and lifting the view of the skilled trades, the reality is we are aligned in what we want to be about. And that's why we're here, because the men and women who do the work, they matter. They matter, and more people need to talk about them. More people need to realize that the reason that we are experiencing the life that we have is because the people that we don't know that are doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
I mean, you flip the light, you open the switch, you expect your internet to work. And I, too, like you, believe this is the greatest country on the face of the earth. Yeah, we got some issues. Maybe I'm biased, but I've traveled, I think it's to 45 countries now. Oh, and we're fortunate enough to do some of this leadership development in Europe as well with one of the biggest construction companies. And here's a new one for you. The closer you are to democracy, the harder the leadership stuff is. Because so if you're coming out of Poland, Croatia, the Middle East, Egypt, etc., democracy is second generation.
Yeah.
Right? For you and I, it's maybe eighth generation. I don't even know, right? It's 1776 kind of a thing, and we can debate things. But you start talking about empowerment and trust to people that came from a dictatorship.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like, no, empowerment is I tell you to shut up and dig. I've empowered you, and I don't kill you. And we take that for granted.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Well, and the interesting thing about that is I said this to someone the other day, and he was like, we were talking about leading from the middle.
Yeah.
And I said to him, leadership, we're all leaders. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but this is what I believe. If it's your first day and you just grabbed a shovel and you're a laborer, or you are a foreman running a crew, you're both leaders. And the reason I say that is when we do things, we impact people around us. And we're going to make an impact, whether it's positive or not, depends on whether or not we're being intentional about it and we care.
Yeah.
And so, my oldest son started in the trade this past year. And he said to me the one day, he goes, well, Dad, how do I lead from the bottom? Because that's where he is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the reality is it's showing up, working hard, and he's leading. He's leading by doing those things, because not even people on his crew or in the company that he's working for, but there are other people that he's working around, and it's like, wow, you're not on your phone? Yeah. What? You're not? We're all leaders. It's just a question of whether or not we decide to be intentional about it.
Well, and there are positionally, right? We look at that and you say, well, you have 15 people reporting to you, therefore you're a leader. Okay, fine. Hierarchically, that's true.
That's true. Yes.
However, there's a lot of people in that position that are actually horrendous at it. Yeah. And then, so if we extend the concept of leadership to its influence.
Come on.
Your son walks onto a job site. He has all his PPE on. He's not a jerk. He's got bright eyes. He's inquisitive. He's respectful to the people, whether they're other trade partners or owners or customers, or he's not a jerk.
Yeah.
Then yes, he's certainly a role model, if not a leader, but that's what leaders are.
Well, anybody can choose to lead. Anybody can do that, but you have to make a choice to do it. I would even go as far as to make the argument that choosing not to do that is a choice.
It's a choice.
Yeah. In a different direction.
Well, and there's a lot of really incredible new science out there on positive psychology. And I don't mean like, oh, it's a wonderful day, but yes, optimism, right? Can optimism be learned? Yes. Did you have a crappy life? Maybe. But you can still, you have agency, you have the remote control in your hand. You can still show up today and say, I'm going to be different today.
Yeah, come on.
And that's why programs like this matter, because people are different. And my absolute favorite graduation it was at a Christmas party for our advanced leadership program. Happened to be at Christmas time. And this woman comes up to me. Are you Wally? I'm like, oh, geez. And I said, yeah. She says, and she just gives me the biggest body hug. And she says, I don't know what you did, but he's different.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Now extend that out to the job site. You have 10, 15, 20 people who are like, let's go.
Yeah.
Right? Just like the men who were out here. Yeah. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
And this is a story that deserves to be told.
Yeah.
The tradesmen and women that we work for, we work for them, right?
Yeah, we do.
That's a story that needs to be told. And this is a great agriculture community. Like I was driving over here and, agricultures, miners, farmers, constructors, like the salt of the earth.
Yeah, for sure. Normally, by this point, I've asked you a question, and I know you're one thing that you can't live without.
So it's my second thing? Is that what
No.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you something a little random. But if I remember correctly, your one thing is a pen.
Yeah. And
I love that because it's something that I really appreciate.
And you sent me a pen.
I did.
So now I'm like 0 for 2 now.
You're giving me your time, which is one of the things that I think is the most valuable thing in the world. And so, but not your one thing. I'm curious, and just to give a little bit more history on Wally. So I think our listeners would like to know, we were talking a little bit before we were recording, and I learned some new information about him. And so when we were talking earlier here, a lot of people might not know this, but you are a pilot in the Marine Corps.
Yes.
What did you fly, Wally?
I flew Cobra attack helicopters.
Okay, so that's badass.
Yeah, skinny,
right? Totally
rockets, missiles. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. So my experience with that, and only because I watched Top Gun, I know that people have call signs, and so what was your call sign, Wally? Are you allowed to say that, or is that like?
Yeah. And first of all, if you watch Top Gun, they all have Viper and badass. There's no dumbass. There are. But I assure you, but you ask any fighter pilot, they're all, stallion and all that stuff. That's all crap.
Are you saying that your call sign was dumbass? I mean,
it could have been several times, but my name Wally. For those people who don't know, there was a cartoon, Wally Alligator. So my first call sign was Gator. Made total sense.
That's totally badass too.
It's a good one. It was a really good one. I was really happy about it. The next squadron I went to, the commanding officer had Gator as well. So clearly I was losing my call sign. And I was one of the senior pilots in the Cobra detachment. There was 8 of us. And therefore I was an instructor pilot, night vision instructors, all that. And my call sign became Angry, because I was a short, angry little man. And I was a hard instructor. I really was.
Oh, that's an important distinction. You were an instructor at this point.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, I flew with these guys and on missions and all that, but there was 8 of us and I was number 2.
Yeah.
And from a seniority perspective. And when they came back from Afghanistan or Iraq and said, you put me through things that I'm now alive because of.
Come on.
I'm like, okay, I did my job.
Yeah.
I wasn't abusive or anything like that, but it was like, no, we're going back to do it again.
Yeah.
Or I know this is really dangerous, but it's far better to do it now than when you're task saturated, overwhelmed, getting shot at, just like on a job site, task saturated, overwhelmed. Oh my God, stuff coming at me, and we make bad decisions.
Yeah.
So we have to train to be good.
There it is. Yes, we do. And it's not always about the tangible things that you can touch. And I think that's one of the things in the trades that we really wrestle with is, if it's not something that I can touch, like, well, how do I bend conduit, or how do I terminate a panel? I mean, I'm just an electrician, so it's like I'm not saying things like, how do I grade this, or how do I dig this?
It's no different.
But the reality is, the thing that is a struggle is then, well, what are those untangibles that you can't physically touch, that you can't, see, that you have to learn? I guess, let me wrap this up with another question related to the military. When you talk about that, what do you think you were able to learn that you've brought from your military experience in flying into what you're doing now, into this industry?
There's a couple. From being a pilot, it's the power of checklists. Because if you skip a step, you die.
Yeah.
And there actually was a time where I didn't turn the batteries on.
Oh.
And it was like, okay, and just, I didn't turn the generators on. And because I knew the steps, like click, 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 click.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm at 1,000 feet and all the electricity goes off, right? And you're like, okay, well, engine's still going. It's probably batteries. Okay, turn the generators on. If that had been nighttime, maybe a different story, right? Yeah. So the power of checklists. But why do I say that? Because we all know, right? Yeah. And we have checklists on job sites to do everything. Yeah. And guys are like, I don't need no sticking checklist. Yeah. No, a checklist frees you up to do the craft better. Yeah. Right? So checklist for one. More broadly, the knowledge that there's not a lot I could be put through that I can't take.
You mean like freezing your ass off on a boat?
Like, yeah, like, all right, we'll be here for, I don't know how long, but like, this is glorious. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I remember coming from what we call SEER school. It's prisoner of war school.
Yeah.
They put you through some stuff. Yeah. Right? And the airplane was delayed. And the lady behind me like, oh my God, I did it. And I'm like, this is great. It's just like, it helps put things in perspective.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that right there, what you touch on, is something that, especially when you don't have the experience. We started the conversation talking about green lieutenants in Vietnam.
Yeah.
The issue a lot of times is we don't have the experience in order to have the right perspective. And I think that's why if you're listening and you're younger, and by younger I mean under 30, and you're out there in the trades, you want to find a journey person or a master or an experienced operator, whatever it is, somebody who's been around, that you can learn and glean that experience from. I know I'm going to sound like my grandfather when I say this, but it's like, the reality is you need that experience so you don't have to learn it the hard way. That makes a huge difference. And the reality is, if you're like me, you're still going to learn plenty the hard way on your own. But it's amazing leaning on other people, how much farther that gets you.
But isn't there an app for that?
No.
Damn.
Yeah.
And that's part of the disconnect, right?
Yeah.
Because the youth want the hack.
That's right.
So do I,
yeah.
Right? But that doesn't exist. So you do. And oh, by the way, and when I talk to the older dudes, it's like, we were all knuckleheads once.
Yeah.
All right. So I know you're rolling your eye when he asked that simple question, but you asked other stupid questions.
Oh yeah.
But it's that I'll use mutual respect, right? Yeah. That this old dog has got some experience, some expertise. Like, there's some experience I don't want. Right? Like, if I manage a restaurant, I don't want to know. I don't want a robbery, yeah. Right? I want to know how to handle it, but I never want to handle it. Yeah. You think about being an electrician. There's some experiences. There's some experiences I don't want. Yeah. I don't want to go to like severe shock school.
Yeah.
Right. And that. But that's learning.
Yeah.
Right. Learning is a change in behavior. Yeah. So I can learn it through a mistake, or I can learn it from a book, or I can learn it from you. But learning is a change in behavior.
Yeah.
And if you want to get better at anything, you have to change your behavior. Absolutely. Like, if I want to have lower cholesterol, I have to change my behavior.
Yeah.
Training does help change behavior.
Yeah. You have to be really intentional about it. And I think the other thing, you mentioned, and I want to be really clear about this. If you're listening and you're younger, you're like, stop talking about the young people. I was young once, so I wanted the hack too. And when you want the hack, this is the biggest thing that I have learned over the past, I don't want to say in life, but one of the bigger things that I have learned over the past couple decades. You want success. You want it now. You want to be where you see your parents. You want to be where you see your foreman. And there's a phrase, someone asked, I forget if it was an interview with Ernest Hemingway or not, but they're like, well, how did you go bankrupt? And he said, gradually and then suddenly. And so it's like, now I want to flip that around and I want to turn it into a positive. How do you get the experience? Gradually and then suddenly.
It's exponential.
Exactly. And, you have to come to a place where, and I'm going to use a dirty word here, where you can establish patience in your life and you're able to wait. Listen, you won't miss it. We tend to, I personally, when I was younger, I had these fears that, I'm going to miss it. If I don't move on this, I'm going to miss it. And quite frankly, there have been times in my life where I didn't move and I did miss it, but it was great that I missed it. And as long as you work hard and you're diligent and you push through and you continually, gradually move forward, you will succeed. It comes down to that don't quit mentality and continuing to take one step forward, and there are stories throughout history. There are stories on this battlefield.
One step,
and not giving up. And it's about that mindset of experiencing gradually, and then suddenly you'll be like, oh, wow, I'm here.
Like, I don't know what comes next, but I know what doesn't come next if I don't step, and it's what comes next, right? I'm like, I was driving in Eastern Carolina a couple of weeks ago from Raleigh to the coast. There's nothing there, and I was like, I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
I think I'm better than I've ever been because I got more knowledge, but I'm humbler than I've ever been.
Yeah.
And you're right. I look at my kids right now, 23, 26, and and I'm like, just. Yeah. I remember when I was 15, my dad was like, why do you need a job? Why do you want to? He goes, you'll be working your entire life. I'm like, yeah. But how do we make our work have value?
Come on.
Right? How do we make our I love this,
yeah.
Right? And you get out on a job site and people are moving dirt and doing incredible stuff, and I mean, go to a switch panel,
yeah,
right? And you see all these terminations, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Right. But the master electrician goes there and it sings to him, and he sees it or she sees it, and that's the coolness that we get to be associated with, and that's why the story needs to be told.
I 100% agree, and I think that's why when I reached out to you, that is the big reason why I wanted to ask if you would collaborate with us in what we're doing here in 2026, and. We are, at Blackline, our desire is to tell the story. We want to communicate that story. We want to talk about those things that you're talking about. And communication is one of those things that there are many different avenues of communication. And I think that we don't understand how important it is. And this is something I even think that ties into leadership. A good leader, in my opinion, is someone who can recognize, oh, that's how that guy communicates. That's how that guy communicates. And he talks with that guy different than he does with that guy or girl. That's a good leader. If you want to be able to be successful, your ability to
adapt.
Thank you. Exactly. That's what we want. And so what I'm talking about that we've kind of touched on a little bit here and there is Blackline is trying to bring forth a new form of communication, which is funny.
Or is it an old form of communication?
An old form of communication, because my wife would say there's nothing new under the sun.
I think that was written a long time ago.
It was written a long time ago as well. And so in 2026, we're bringing out Tradecraft Magazine. Now, I have talked about this briefly before, but with that, we want to bring the stories of the men and women who do the work, but in print. It's not something that you're going to be able to find online. You aren't going to be able to get a digital copy. I'm sure we'll promote it because we want you to know about it. We want you to buy it. But the reality is it's about telling the stories of the men and women who do the work through photography and through creative writing. And when I say creative writing, I don't mean fictional stories. I mean the truth about the men and women who do the work. And we've asked Wally to collaborate with us and write an article that we're titling Tradecraft. And the whole premise of this is about leaving your mark in an industry. Are you being intentional about the work that you do? Why are you being intentional? And what is the work that you do? And those are the things that we want to communicate. I talked with you briefly a little bit earlier about why we use the word tradecraft and what we mean by that. Wally, can you talk a little bit about the articles that you're going to write and what your intention is with that?
Well, first of all, you go to the medium, right? You talk about communication. Now, I don't know if there's a lot of communication. There's a lot of noise out there.
Yeah.
Right? How many apps do I have, right?
Yeah.
So how do we cut through the noise?
Yeah.
I think this is an attempt to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I want to write, and it's always what I've wanted to write, I wanted to write stuff that catches people's attention.
Come on.
Makes them think, makes them feel. Now, not every article does this, right? But ultimately, people go, huh, right? And then maybe causes them to take some kind of action because of it. It might just be smile. It might be go read a book. It might be, right? It differs for everybody, but it is that intentionality. It's that awareness. We go through life, we all do, 24/7.
Yeah.
Right. And there's some incredible research out there saying we need to be more bored.
Come on.
Because our brain begins to work when we're bored, and it gets to creation, and maybe I could do this differently.
Boredom is where creativity comes from.
But we don't get bored because we reach for our phones.
Yeah.
Right. So, and look, great devices, love them, etc. However, they're killing us.
Yeah.
So when we write something down and cut through the noise, when I write something down and cut through the noise, and can I reach one person? Can I reach 1,000 people?
Yeah.
I hope so. Could I reach 1 million people? Who knows, right? But maybe one at a time, right? And somebody right freaking now, needs this message.
Yeah.
The one you and I are talking about right now.
Come on.
And that's enough, right? Because you might have saved a life, transformed a job site, and you go, oh, well, that's just so dreamy. No,
it's
I've
real.
had those experiences. I've had that wife come up to me and said, he's different, right? So, it's about putting tools in people's hands.
Come on.
Right?
I agree 100%.
So some people put shovels in their hands. Some people put snips in their hands. I put ideas and then tangible tools for okay, if you want to be better at time management, do X, Y, and Z, right? So it's not theory.
Yeah.
It's reality. And everything that I would talk about is this has been done. Heck, half of it I've done. I've screwed up before. I've learned. I've stopped drinking. You can do this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things that comes from experience that is so helpful for people is that, hey, I've been there. You can do this. I can remember being in situations where people were telling me that.
And you're going, you have no idea what I'm going through. And they're
Exactly.
I don't know what exactly you're going through, but I went through some stuff too.
Exactly. And I think that I love how you say your desire is to put tools in people's hands. I think that's one of the things, if we just look at that practically, that's one of the things you can't do certain jobs without the right tool. You cannot do it. And if you try, and this is coming from a guy who's tried to fix things or do things without the right tool, you tend to break things
and hurt yourself,
cut things, lose fingers, Yeah. So having the right tool for the right job is not just a phrase, it's a reality. And having the right tool to be able to build out your tradecraft, your culture, who you are as a leader, as a person, as a manager, as a foreman, those are things that I think are essential in you continuing to grow and go to that next level.
And this is an opportunity to share those messages,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's at an individual level, an organizational level, like, the C.W. Matthews, obviously, who we've talked about here, they're not alone. There are other great contractors out there. And that's the point about this industry. And there's people who have trench collapses too. And you say, how the heck does that happen?
Yeah.
Well, that's not my world. And I want to change that world.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. So are you okay? We just have a few more minutes.
No, I'm really good. I think it got warmer or I stopped feeling. So
I don't feel anything below my waist, actually.
Right, fair
anymore.
enough. Yeah,
So,
all right,
I had
I'm
to
great.
pee earlier, but I don't even have to pee anymore because I can't feel anything.
I peed on myself to get warm. Sorry. No,
this is not a mature podcast.
No,
That's for sure. I mean, age-wise, yes, but
I will stay here and talk forever.
Well,
I think the park closes at sunset.
Yes,
so
we are.
yes.
We are, and our escort is I can feel moving along.
Yeah. Time to go.
But we talked before. We talked about your one thing. We talked about some of your origins and your history, and we talked about what we're doing with Tradecraft, and Trademark Magazine, which is a work magazine that we are bringing out here in 2026. To be able to tell the stories and promote the tools that people need. Let's give them a tool right now. And I've asked you this before, and I know, unlike your one thing, that you probably have plenty of these things. But I asked you before, what is a mistake that Wally has made? And the reason that I bring you that question again is because, for me, these are some of the greatest tools that I have. And so I'll go first, because I don't think I did this last time. And I often am asking the question, and I don't share a lot of my mistakes.
Well, you're the host. You get to do that.
But I'll give you some time to think while I share this. So when I first started in business, I did not fully understand the subcontractor-contractor relationship. And I'd won a project, a small project, big for me.
Yeah.
It was very big.
It's all relative, isn't it?
It's really funny. Yeah. And it was for school and doing some gymnasium lighting. And it was just me, and I think I had a helper at that time.
Yeah.
And this was a big deal. I remember telling my wife, I was like, this is it, babe. We're going to the next level. But so I had bid the job with the general contractor. Didn't even know of the school. They had asked me for a bid, and I did all that. And I went in, did the work, and I was there doing the work. And it was a great experience. The maintenance guy comes out to me the one day, and he goes, we're looking at doing this and doing this over here. Would you mind giving the school some pricing on that stuff? I'm an ignorant little electrician. I don't know any better. And I'm like, yeah, sure.
Oh, the gravy train.
I give them a price. They sign the contract. I'm there doing the work. And while the other job is still going on. I'm not proud of this, actually. And this is what I learned. I'll never forget this day because it almost brought me, if I'm going to be honest, it brought me to tears right there on the job site. General contractor walks up to me, and he'd given me this opportunity. And he says, Joshua, do you understand what it means to be brought to the dance? And I was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, so this is our client that we invited you to come here and do this work. And he goes, I don't even want to be involved in that work, but you didn't even ask me if you should bid it through me or work through me. I was devastated.
Yeah. I
was devastated because I didn't realize, there's an appropriate way to communicate this. There's an appropriate way to do this. And I was ignorant of it. And he saw that, and it didn't affect our relationship negatively. What it did do is it made me struggle a little bit with the person who had asked me that did know better, and put me in that situation. But that ever changed my outlook. And I can remember being on $1 million job, which maybe isn't that huge for you if you're listening, but it was way bigger than the little gymnasium lighting project. And a client came up with a big, huge, extra work that they wanted us to do. And I said, well, we got to run that by the GC. And he didn't want anything to do with it, but you wouldn't believe his face in, hey, thanks for letting us know. I gave them the opportunity to be a part of it in that way.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was a huge mistake that I learned from, and it has affected my career throughout my life. So. top that, Wally?
It's almost related. And this is, I've been in business for 25 years. I didn't collaborate enough early. So
Yeah.
right. Now the internet has enabled certain things,
For
right?
sure.
But I was very protective, maybe fearful. On this program, there's 3 other instructors, and we collaborate.
Come on.
Right. And it's a better experience for the client.
Yeah.
Which is better for everybody. So I was, again, fearful, stupid, ignorant, fill in the words, all of the above. But this then goes back to our leadership story, right? About, as a leader, I'm really the chief collaborator.
Come on.
Right? Like, hey guys, how are we going to go take that hill?
Yeah.
Right? Hey, I'll go take that hill with you. Or how are we going to get this job done before the tropical storm comes in, right?
Yeah.
And it's we are more powerful than me, right? That's what I've learned, I think, and it took almost 60 years to figure it out.
Gradually, then suddenly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I so appreciate you inviting me here to the Gettysburg battlefield to sit down and have a real and honest conversation with you. As the sun sets in the distance, and we're here amongst ground where many men have come before us, thank you for stepping up to the line with me.
Thank you.